All right, so we have a different setup today, obviously. Chris Lowery, myself, Shane Southwell, Chris Nelson. You probably know Shane Southwell better than Chris Nelson, but still good. So we'll just talk and have fun talking about basketball in the Big 12 and that kind of stuff. We'll start and then let everybody kind of jump in. But last night you guys go to Stillwater, really handle those guys from start to finish. I mean, I know they're a good team and I'm sure they concerned you guys, but there was never really a point in that game where they threatened you guys. Another instance of you guys, having a rough outing and then coming right back and getting a big win. So how proud were you of the guys last night?
We've got smoked 3 out of 4 games, so it was pretty important that we had to come back, just be mentally focused with that group. We got a really resilient group of guys, but losing's losing, and
right.
It could affect you at some point in the season. And we were at that point in the season where it could go either way from a mental standpoint. And the key is just keeping those guys focused and being around us and really just trying to make sure that they understand that we're in 5th place.
Right.
Regardless of where people think it is, the record is what it is.
Right.
5th place. So, and how good this league is and the parity and seeing how close, from 1st to 5th is, reeling them back in and saying, "Hey, you guys are pretty good." That was a huge deal. And last week they beat Kansas and West Virginia, things we couldn't do.
Right.
At either spot, and then we go and really dismantle everything they try to do. So it was good for our guys to win that game.
Nelson wrote. I was going to cut you off, but just today for the Iowa State, prep for tomorrow. That it's so cliche to say it, but there really is a league where everyone can beat everyone. I mean, and what were you going to ask about?
I was going to ask, just when it comes to the scouts, the second time around, do you guys keep the same assistant coach on the scouts with familiarity, or do you get a fresh set of eyes on, or how does that work with the second time around?
You don't ever want to. The familiarity is the key to any scouting. So obviously, me and Shane have Oklahoma State. That's one of our scouts. So he's my scout partner. So what we did to him the first time, we didn't really do the second time because Barry was so dominant offensively, but he still got 25. And the things we took away from him was transition offense, which they killed us in Manhattan. And then we eliminated that. And along with doing the stuff we did in the first time defensively, that's the key. You don't ever want to change scouts in the middle of a season, because now why would I want to tell you everything that we and him just worked on to get to that point? Now I give it to you, and then you're like, I got to really go back and really watch all over again.
Brand new start.
Yeah. So you just keep the same eyes on them, and you just watch how they go in transition in the league, and that's the key. We watch, and our scouts in the non-conference. As far as so we have Oklahoma State. We watch their whole non-conference stuff first time, leading up to them playing us, and then we watch them the rest of the way in between when we played them. So that's the key. You got to keep the same eyes, because we have instincts in what they do, and we know the play calls the second time. So that's the best way to go. I mean, you can ask Shane questions, about his role in scouting.
Well, that's what I was curious about. I know me and Nelson's dynamic is he's a lot smarter about it than me, and he teaches me. But so how do you are you showing him things that you see as much, or I guess who's more talkative out of you two when you're watching those?
Clearly
him.
I learned from him, and I learned about all the nuances of just scouting in general. But just as an athlete and player that just played, I know certain things, and always having a high basketball IQ. So I just really go out there and give my little pointers. I mainly take control of baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds, and then we'll talk about their offense and their principles offensively, defensively, and we kind of discuss that together. Or basically, I'll just pick his mind and see how he feels about certain things. But honestly, it's just been a pleasure just being in that situation to learn. You know what I mean?
And how much different, I guess, in your perspective? I know he's sitting right here, but how far has he come? Just in this year of doing this with you.
I think the one thing, he always thought he knew more than us anyway. So it was really easy for him to kind of tell me what we should be doing and certain stuff. And I think the biggest thing is when you got a young man who just got done playing professionally, he adds to the way that you can talk to our own kids. And they will all want to play professional, whether it's overseas or NBA. Right. So, you listen to somebody who's just done it, and, he is their peer, but he's not. he's very similar in age, but he's above him because he's on our side of the deal. So he can talk to him in a way that we can.
Yeah.
That other voice that they respect these guys at such a level that it's almost father figure. It's almost like a big brother. Like for that difference, for them to see somebody like he said that professional, that somebody that done it every day. They're striving to get to that. So, like you said, it's just a big opportunity for those guys to just keep being a sponge. And every day they ask a lot of questions, from Dean to even our freshmen and walk-ons. They always constantly ask questions, and we really have a great group of guys like that.
So there's some coaches out there. I think Roy Williams is probably known to be one of those that care more about, they have the philosophy, we're going to do what we do and not worry about what the other team does versus the other end of the spectrum. How much time do you guys allot, practice time, to preparing for the other team? And does that change when you have a Tuesday, Saturday schedule versus one day between games?
Well, if we were to talk about Georgia, Kansas. We spent so much time getting ready for Georgia because we needed to win that game for our league. Right. That was a bigger deal, and we prepared so much for that we had a one-day prep for Kansas, and that wasn't enough because Kansas is clearly a better team. But for our league's sake, and when you look at trying to get to the NCAA tournament, they'll look, they had a SEC, they had a crossover game, how'd they do? Well, of course, our league lost for the first time in the whole series, but we won that, and it was important for us to win that game. I'm not saying that Kansas is any less important, but when you got a two-day prep, a very unfamiliar opponent, you got to spend some time on because we don't see them all the time. We know Kansas, we know what they do, and we know how they are. But in Georgia was a physical fist fight. We had to prepare for that, and then come right back around and then play the Jayhawks on national TV. So prep is different. We couldn't practice for Kansas. We just had to talk about the scouting report, the paper scouting report, watch video, because we blew our gasket beating those guys at Georgia because it was a tough physical game. But if you have a longer period of time, you can actually have a practice day, then try to get ready for them. You'd like to have 2 or 3 days in between. You'd have one practice day, then a prep day to get ready for a team. So that's kind of how Bruce does it. It's when you're in North Carolina, you get a different level of talent. Sure. And so now you can say, we're going to just try to out-talent you. And now their talent's not what it was when they won a national championship, and they can't do that. So now, is it going to be based on what talent you get or what you develop, or where are they older, are they younger? It's different for different guys.
Shane, I'm curious, I as somebody who covers this team was concerned last night for K-State. Like he mentioned, Oklahoma State had won at West Virginia and at Kansas in the span of 7 days. And if you listen to Coach, Mike Boynton, after the first loss to you guys, he was upset. He really thinks highly of them. And so I was just really, really surprised by the way you guys handled that game and kind of cruised through it. Did you have to work hard to prepare you guys knowing that team would have really wanted revenge after, dropping that game in Manhattan?
Just like any team in our league, after a few games, and especially a month almost, you get better.
Right.
No matter who you are, as our league has shown, everybody's gotten better. So with those guys, we really had to tell those guys that they're not the same team that we be in Manhattan.
Right.
And I think for the biggest key, like Coach Lowery said, was our transition defense. Every time we scored or missed or make, we sprinted back. Right. They really did a good job in Manhattan, getting out, getting layups, threes, fouls. We eliminated that, limited it, and it turned out to be a good win for us.
I think I have to ask about for either of you guys. I'm just curious. You get a lot of questions about Cam, I'm sure, and as he's worked back through this. And last night, seemed to be a breakthrough for him a little bit. He made shots which was great for him. How happy was he after that game?
It was good for him mentally, but he ain't even 80%.
Right.
Like, we can't allow him to have the ball and try to make plays because he's gonna hurt himself. Like, he's got to be a shooter. Like, he's got to be off the ball. He's got to let other people play make for him, which is unusual. He's never had that happen. But we got Barry, we got Dean have changed their games because he was out. And now you have Cardi also, and we played Cardi and him together. Right. So now it's different for him. And the good thing about Coach Weber, we understand that. We know Cam, we can't throw it to him on the wing and say, go get one. Yeah. Because he physically can't right now. And our guys understand it. They understand he's a high-end shooter, so we just put him in those shooting situations.
Long term and even looking ahead to next year, can that be a good thing for you guys? Not that Cam can ever be a creator, but is the ceiling for Diarra and Brown as a creator higher than Cam's is, and having Cam as off-the-ball shooting, is that
Nah, because he averaged 5 assists when he was out, and we don't have anybody averaging that many. So the stuff that he was naturally doing, it's still hard for Barry.
Yeah.
But we've got Barry at 90. Barry's going to have 100 assists this year, which when he first got there, we were like, he shot it too much. There's no way Barry's going to ever translate his game to being a playmaker. And Barry's 10th in the Big 12 in assists, in Big 12 games only. So that's a huge stride for him. And you got to give him credit for trying to do other stuff other than shoot the ball, because we know he's scoring 18, 19 a game in the league, and Dean's above him in the league. So those two guys have really elevated their game, taken it to another level. Obviously, Cartier is being groomed, is going to be a really good player. But the other consistent guy is X. He averages 11 and a half, and nobody talks about him.
Right. That's
how good of a player he is for us. He just locked up Carroll, made Carroll's life miserable yesterday, and that stuff goes unnoticed. But, he gets big-time dunks, he makes threes. So he gets overlooked because of those older two juniors are so good.
Yeah, I thought X did a great job defensively last night. He was impressive the whole night. Stockard, the guy we haven't touched on yet. Yep. Was he better offensively or defensively last night? I thought he did some good things on both ends of the floor.
He's a guy that we all love because he's smart. Honestly, if Dean could play with him, he would choose to play with him because he's smart. Because you saw, we did some pocket pass, ball screen stuff, and then boom, he knows where people are. He hit X in the corner, X missed, but then he hits Dean at the top of the key. He understands where people are. He's a smart player, but he's a freshman. His motor doesn't run as high as we like our bigs. He doesn't always know when to play hard. He fouls too much, which is, all of our new big guys, they all foul too much. And it used to be Dean as a freshman. Dean got 2 fouls quicker than anybody as a freshman. Now that seems so long ago that it never really happened. But he learned how to exist in a league where we have very good big guys.
Do you think our comparison of Levi to a rich man Zach Randolph is appropriate?
What's funny? They call him Lebo.
They do. They
call him Dean made it up. They call him Lebo because he's
I really didn't.
Zach Randolph. That's what Dean calls him.
You can't
Lebo.
watch him for more than 2 minutes and not immediately think of Zach Randolph. But I'm curious for you, Shane. I mean, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't that long ago when you were playing for K-State and you were playing overseas. And looking back at your playing career and now coaching for K-State, what's something you did as a player that would drive you nuts now as a coach?
We literally talked about it as a coach now, as a young coach, when guys kind of get into those mind states that they're smarter than the coaches.
Sure.
Now I hate it. And I was totally that player that was always like, hey, what are we doing here? What are we doing? And it wasn't just about battling the coaches. It was always just trying to get the best out of the coaches, staff, the players, and just the whole unit together. And sometimes I always came off a little bit brash and young-minded.
I never got that sense.
Never thought it. Yeah.
But you kind of love those guys though. That's really into the game. That always want to win. Barry is similar.
Right.
Barry's always asking questions, always watching film, always want to know what we're doing on this player, on this team, and what principles are we following? What are we sticking to? So Barry is kind of similar to me in a sense. Am I right about that?
But Barry doesn't. He passed way more than Barry. But Barry is very similar because like Shane would question everything. Why?
Right.
What are we doing here? Why do we have to do And I just it's good for him. He needs that. But the thing about it is, when guys are asking questions all the time, that means they care. That means they care, and that's what you want when you have good players that care and want to know what's going on. And Barry's our guy for that right now.
Is there any position you gravitate more to as far as a coach? I mean, I know you played the 3, you played kind of a stretch 4 for K-State at times. Is there any one position you gravitate more towards?
I work with the bigs primarily, especially during breakdown, but I have a great relationship with the guards. I always gravitate towards the guards because I always see myself as a guard in terms of ball handling and passing the ball. So I always try to give pointers to those guys, but I work primarily with the bigs, just helping those guys out, getting better, like you said, just trying to stop fouling. That's probably the biggest key for us right now. So I primarily work with the bigs.
Is a lot of the pick and pop action that we run with Dean similar to what we ran back with you, or the subtle changes?
Dean don't shoot it like me. No, but Dean is so much more talented. Like, honestly, I was just talking to CeeLo about that. Dean is so much more talented than any guy that I think I've played with. Dean is really just somebody that's kind of natural. You know, I can tell Dean, not even show him, just be like, hey, what do you think about this? How you feel about it? Are you comfortable about it? And then in the game, he does it. It's like, okay, all right, wow. Like, and that's just off talking. That's not even off practicing, working out. So a guy like Dean, he makes our job easy.
I'm curious, you guys talk about being, scouting partners and looking through these. Is there any playful competition, between you and other scouts? Do you ever point out what your record is against the team that you guys scout and that kind of stuff, or is that all?
You know what? Not during the season.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess with people during the season. So, because you're trying to win, and you just afterwards, you have a good season, you can make fun of people, but you just like when you have your own scouts, there's a lot of pride in it because it's basically your game to coach, and I've been a head coach before, so when I was assistant full time, it was like, okay, this is my game, I know what this is about. This is my scout, so when we win, it felt like, okay, this is what it feels like to be a head coach.
Right.
And so, Coach Weber gives you so much freedom and coach in practice. So if you come to practice, I'm all over the place. I'm yelling at everybody and coaching, and that's what Coach Weber allows you to do. He's not one of those guys who he's the only one talking in practice. He gives, like Shane can talk. Like, guys can interact with people and help them. So that's the beauty of the way we do things is there's interaction between players and coaches all over the place.
A very important question that me and Flanders talked about last time on the podcast. Has there been any consideration to just wearing lavenders the rest of the year until you lose?
Well, we just got some bad news today that the NCAA said we couldn't wear them unless we did a waiver. And supposedly you can't wear two-tone jersey shorts anymore. So that was the last game until this waiver hopefully comes through. So.
Yeah. Wow. It seems like of all the things, I'm not trying to go off, but of they could be worried about. That's.
No, our players love them. Recruits, alumni, fans, everybody. Yeah. Those are awesome uniforms. Hopefully, we'll get to wear them and can keep wearing them and putting them out there.
We'll kind of wrap it up, I guess, to Iowa State a little bit. And like, what I mentioned with Nelson saying and looking at them, they are at the bottom of the standings, but man, with Wigington, Lard, Weiler Babby, Jackson, they have a lot of good players. What kind of challenge do they present to you guys?
Well, I think they got 5 or 6 people in double figures. If you put that team in another league, they would not be in the bottom just because of offensive potential alone. And they got good freshmen, and they've just been spoiled, for those last with so many of those guys that they've had in the past. They were holdovers. They didn't have anybody turn pro early on those really good teams, so they were there the whole time, and they benefited from it. Now it's turned over. There's new guys. There's guys that played very little last year that are in starting roles. So it's tough, but they've recruited well.
Yeah.
But when we blew our thing up and restarted again with Cam Barry Dean, we were in the same boat. We were struggling. We were in close games. We had opportunities, and that's where they are. They got the youngest team in the league, and that's why they're where they are.
There's a lot more teams now in college basketball playing like Iowa State started to play when Hoiberg went there, with playing small, stretching the floor, shooting a lot of threes. Does that change your defense philosophies at all, with being careful not to overhelp and leave open shooters, or is it better to force teams to take contested twos versus giving up open threes, or thoughts on that?
When you look at it, if you don't make threes, when it's one and done, the pressure to make those threes changes. When you got a round robin like our league. When it's one and done, you miss a couple, and you're in your unfriendly environment like the NCAA tournament, there's pressure. There's seniors going to play their last game. It's different. So, and they're different this year. Look at Iowa State. They ain't bombing threes like that because they don't have – because the last of Fred's guys are gone.
Right.
Yep.
They were last year. All that crew, the point guard, Monte, and the lefty, and shooters, all those guys were Fred recruits to how he plays and how he played when he was there. Now they're more athletic. They go off the bounce now. They have real inside guys down there. They're playing double big, and they've never played double big since Fred's been in the league. They have 2 real inside guys starting at the 4-5. So that's the difference in their team. They can't stretch it like that, but they got dudes that can one-on-one go get buckets now.
I said to finish with Iowa State, but probably one more topic I'm curious about. I think you said, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but last week, no one walks in and says, hey, I want to finish 4th or finish 5th. That's not your goal. But, I mean, now here we are, 13 games into the league, a team that was picked to finish 8th. I'm curious both your thoughts. sitting at fourth with a win over the team that's in fifth. How rewarding would it be to get through this year and finish, third, fourth in this league after maybe what you guys experienced last year and what some people picked you to finish this year?
For me personally, this is many years as I've done it. Number one thing is, you don't ever worry about where people pick you because none of that matters.
Right.
The biggest thing for your team is are they better in February, March than they were in November, December.
Yeah.
And when you're better then you got a chance to do some things, and that's where the real relevance of where you finish when you get a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. That's the relativity of all of it. What are we going to do in March? We were obviously, for us, to take a group of no juniors, 3 seniors, sophomore and freshmen, and go to the NCAA tournament. Yeah, we were in the playing game to win that game, then lose Cincinnati. And you look at Cincinnati, who they all have back. They won 16 in a row. They haven't lost almost 2 months.
Right.
With basically the same team back. So that was a really good team we lost to. So now you look at it and say, we don't want to finish middle of the road.
Right.
But middle of the road in every high-end league is a Sweet 16 caliber team.
Right.
That's what you judge it by. You can't judge it by fans. And I saw something I'm not even going to talk about it, but it's interesting.
We could.
It's interesting, but we're not.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you can talk about middle of the road in basketball versus middle of the road in college football. It's different.
Right.
Because the middle of the road there, it's the middle of the road in many high major leagues is a very good 20-win team by the time the conference tournaments come out. Right. So we're talking upper echelon of the ACC, the top 6 or 7 in our league, top 5, 6, 7, Big Ten, top 6, 7 in the Pac-12. You put those teams in a tournament alone, and people would pay to go see that tournament.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Just like they pay to go see the NCAA tournament. Because it's all blue bloods, it's high majors, it's relative names to people who are a college basketball fan. You know these teams. Now the beauty of the NCAA tournament is the Cinderellas and the upsets, but in our leagues, we have better opportunities to see those type of caliber teams as far as advancing than a team in the Missouri Valley.
Right.
Because they have their time they play our calibers in the non-conference. So, just based on that, I mean, we take middle of the road because we know middle of the road and all the rest of those leagues are similar to where we're at. It's a pretty common names to college basketball fans.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just at this point with this league, the way this league is going, that anybody can be anybody from 1 to 10. Obviously, your goal is to win a championship, especially in the Big 12. It's something prestigious as this conference has always been, especially this year, how tough every team is. To be middle of the road, like Coach Lowery said, is still a feat. You look at the SEC, a middle-of-the-road team in the SEC is a really good team.
Right.
Middle-of-the-road in the ACC is a really, really good team. There's a lot of really good teams that's going to be in that middle of the pack fighting each and every day. You look at Joe Lunardi's bracketology, you'll see the 9th or the 10th seed or the 11th seed, and you go back and look at their conference and with their standards in the conference, some of those guys will be in the 3rd in their conference.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's just the beauty of college basketball, especially with those Power 5 schools. We're finishing in the top 4, top 5, or top 3, or top 2, or even number 1. It's a blessing regardless of where we finish at. Like Coach Lowery said, getting better and better by March. By late February, if we keep reaching where we're supposed to be reaching at and keep developing, we'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, the offensive lineup of Cardi and Barry and Cam and X and Dean give you guys a little different look than teams didn't see the first time around, and maybe give you guys advantage just down the stretch here.
We've tried to coin the name Doom lineup for that. If you guys want to use it, you sure can instead of Death lineup, but it's up to you.
I mean, we like it. I mean, it's something that we would love to do. Just for matchups, because when you play an NCAA tournament, you play a team who has a small 4 who's a 3.
Right.
Now we've done that, so that's the key. You don't want to when you go into those situations and you're in a one and done and you have to play like you've never played, it's hard, and that's why you see mids upset people, because when they make you play like you played one way all year, we're going to stay big no matter what, and these dudes come in there with the 6'7" center and a 6'6" 4-man, and the 4-man is really a 2-3. Now you got problems because we can't guard the 4-man. So when we've done it, so we feel good about our chances in that. And I think the biggest thing about our league, which is very different from everybody else's leagues today, our last place team has beat the upper echelon teams in our league.
Right.
So when you look at that, no, there's nobody in the bottom of those. The Big Ten beating Michigan State, Ohio State. That's not happening. That's how good our league is. You look at Oklahoma State. When you look at Baylor, those guys are at the bottom. And you look at their 3-week run, the past 3 weeks, they've come completely full circle.
Yeah.
And Baylor's all the way up to where they're 2 games basically behind us.
Right.
And if you would have said that 3 weeks ago, them dudes are gonna. They were 1-4.
Absolutely. Now
in
what?
the league.
5 and 7, something like that.
They're 5 and 7 right now. So that tells you the depth of our league and how good of a coaches we have.
Yep.
You look at them; they completely turned their season around. You look at Oklahoma State; they were dead in the water after they lost to TCU.
Yep.
Now, boom! They go beat at West Virginia. We couldn't do it. At Kansas, we couldn't do it. Not very many people have, and they did those things.
Right. Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Yeah, I think we're probably good. I appreciate it.